The bold and the beautiful, blood, betrayal, and the breaking point. Finn's impossible choice shatters everything. It all happened under the harsh glare of surgical lights. Cold steel. The smell of blood. A single decision with 2 lives hanging in the balance. In the operating room, Luna lay motionless, her body going into shock as blood poured out faster than any hands could stop it. Postpartum hemorrhage. It hit hard. It hit fast. John Finnegan, the man sworn to protect life, the husband, the son, the healer, was now forced into the unthinkable. 1 table, 1 mother, 1 child, 1 impossible choice. The room turned to him, frozen. Nurses waited. Techs stood silent. The clock ticked. The monitors screamed. It was all on Finn. And then the doors burst open, and chaos had a voice. Bill Spencer. Bill stormed in like a hurricane. Eyes wild, rage boiling over, screaming just 3 words. Save the baby. He didn't ask. He ordered. And then he said the rest. The threat. The dagger wrapped in wealth and power. Save the baby, or I will end your career. The room stopped breathing. Bill's voice echoed through the sterile walls like a sentence handed down from a god. He didn't care about Luna. He didn't care about the woman on the table who was barely clinging to life. He cared about legacy, about bloodlines, about his name carried through a newborn's cry. Finn didn't answer. He didn't react, but inside, everything cracked. His mind screamed with medical calculations, but his heart was already torn in half. He knew what Luna had done. He knew the darkness that came with her name. The lies. The damage. He'd heard the rumors, read the reports, seen what she did to Will. But in that moment, she wasn't a criminal. She was a patient, a mother, a human being on the edge of death. And her child, innocent, premature, gasping for breath, needed saving too. This wasn't a choice. This was a test. And Finn, despite the noise, despite the power plays, despite the personal hell he was being dragged through, chose both. With steel in his voice and resolve in his hands, Finn barked orders. Clamp the uterine artery now. Balloon tamponade ready. Get the NICU team down here for the baby. He wasn't going to play Bill's game. He wasn't going to let a billionaire bully him into playing God. He was a doctor. He was going to save everyone. Minutes stretched like hours. Blood was everywhere. Luna's vitals dipped once, twice, flatlined, then surged again as Finn worked like a man possessed. He manually compressed the bleeding, inserted a catheter, called for transfusions. The NICU team rushed in, working in tandem to intubate the struggling newborn, barely 2 pounds and purple with distress. And somehow, by some miracle, both lived. The bleeding stopped. The baby cried. The crisis passed. But the war was just beginning. When Luna stabilized, Bill didn't thank Finn. He didn't acknowledge the impossible feat that had just happened in that room. No. He walked out, stone-faced, silent, and within 24 hours, he was everywhere. On screens. In headlines. In boardrooms. On social media. Dr. John Finnegan betrays the Spencer family. Bill launched a smear campaign so vicious, so calculated, it could have only come from a man who'd made enemies out of kings. Finn was painted as disloyal, reckless, dangerous, a man who endangered a Spencer heir by wasting time on a mother unworthy of mercy. The fallout was immediate. Steffy Forrester Finnegan heard it all secondhand. Headlines, rumors, gossip dripping through the halls of Forrester like poison. Finn saved Luna. Finn disobeyed Bill. Finn chose a monster over family. She felt the sting like a knife between the ribs. Her mind snapped back to all the chaos Luna had caused. Will's trauma, the paternity drama, the custody threats, the way the baby was conceived. And Finn had saved her? Steffy confronted Finn, fire in her voice, betrayal in her eyes. You saved a woman who destroyed everything, she said, trembling. You saved her and risked the baby? Finn, exhausted and hollowed out, told her the truth. The full truth. He hadn't chosen Luna over the child. He had chosen both. He had fought for both. He had risked everything to walk the impossible line between medical ethics and human compassion. He reminded her that he was a doctor, not a judge. Not Bill Spencer's pawn. But trust, once cracked, is hard to repair. Steffy wanted to believe him. She wanted to see the man she married. The man who once saved her life. The man who had held their children and promised her the world. But doubt had wormed its way in, and Bill's campaign had already poisoned the waters. Every news outlet pushed the same narrative. Every whisper at Forrester questioned Finn's judgment. Even Ridge raised an eyebrow. Even Taylor looked concerned. Steffy watched her marriage teeter on the edge again. Not because of infidelity, not because of lies, but because of one moment. One choice. One refusal to play politics with life and death. Finn, once her rock, now stood on trial, not in court but in the court of public opinion. Meanwhile, Luna, now awake, pale, trembling, but alive, lay in her recovery room, cradling a baby she hadn't expected to keep. She hadn't seen Bill. She hadn't seen Will. She didn't know what storm was raging outside her door. But she would. And when she did, she would realize that Finn saved her life when no one else would. And that gift, unexpected, undeserved, would change everything. Will Luna seek redemption? Or will she see this as leverage? Will she protect Finn or drag him deeper into her drama? And will the child, now a breathing, crying, living being, become a new battlefield between the Forresters, the Spencers, and the Nozawas? Because Bill isn't done. He's furious. He didn't get his way. And that makes Finn a target. Steffy is caught in the crossfire, torn between her father-in-law's wrath and her husband's principles. Finn is trying to hold the line. But the pressure is building. The cracks are forming. And somewhere inside him, a man who has always chosen peace is starting to break. At Forrester, whispers grow louder. Finn is called into meetings. Legal teams get involved. Hospital PR scrambles to contain the damage. Petitions are started. And amidst it all, Finn keeps showing up to the NICU, to Luna's room, because it's still his job to save people, even when the world is trying to destroy him. And Steffy? She's watching, waiting, deciding. Will she stand by him? Will she believe in his heart, his oath, his choice? Or will she walk away again? Because the bold and the beautiful doesn't pull punches. And in this storm of blood, betrayal, and broken trust, one thing is clear. Finn's choice saved lives, but it might have cost him everything else. The bold and the beautiful, battle lines drawn. Bill's custody ambush, Luna's defense, and the shocking guardian reveal that changes everything. The walls of the hospital haven't even finished echoing with the trauma of Luna's near-fatal hemorrhage. And already, the next storm has arrived. It doesn't come with flashing lights or a medical emergency. It comes with lawyers, sealed envelopes, and calculated malice. Bill Spencer isn't wasting time. While Luna lies weak in her hospital bed, recovering from surgery, and her newborn rests in an incubator, hooked up to fragile wires and tubes, Bill is preparing his next strike. This time not in the OR, but in the courtroom. Behind closed doors while no one is looking, Bill sets his plan in motion. His legal team appears out of nowhere, folders in hand, motions pre-drafted, signatures ready. At the center of it all? Emergency custody papers seeking immediate removal of the baby from Luna's care. His claim is chillingly simple: Luna is unstable, dangerous, unfit. He argues that she's a threat not only to herself but to the child. He references her recent arrest, her obsession with Will, her manipulations, the deception, the pregnancy under questionable circumstances. Every detail is weaponized. Every line is sharpened. Bill is rewriting Luna's story as one of madness and menace. And he's doing it from inside the hospital that just saved her life. Poppy Nozawa hears about the filing only minutes before it's submitted. She's blindsided but furious. She knows what Bill is doing, and more importantly, why. This isn't about protection. This is about control, revenge, erasing Luna from the Spencer bloodline and tightening the grip on another child carrying his name. But Poppy is no longer standing back. She immediately contacts legal counsel, and R.J. Forrester, who has stood loyally by Luna through every scandal and heartbreak, steps up beside her. They come armed with something Bill doesn't expect. Proof, not of Luna's instability, but of what she endured. A file is placed on the judge's desk, sealed psychological records, therapy notes, and evaluations. All of it painting a very different picture: Luna as a woman who was manipulated, coerced, targeted. A woman whose actions were the result of long-term psychological abuse from more powerful figures. They name names, show receipts, build a defense not just of circumstance but of character. And then the courtroom doors open again. Finn walks in. He's been subpoenaed as a neutral medical expert, not as a relative, not as a husband, not as someone connected by blood to either side. He's the physician who treated both mother and child. His opinion, cold, clinical, impartial, is the deciding voice. The judge makes it clear, his testimony could tip the scales. But Bill isn't finished playing dirty. Just before Finn is sworn in, Bill's team hands over a series of exhibits. They're grainy photos, clearly taken without permission, from inside the operating room. The moment when Luna was bleeding out. The moment when Finn was commanding the NICU and surgical teams. But Bill narrates them differently. He tells the court that Finn hesitated, that he nearly endangered the child by wasting precious seconds, saving a mentally unstable criminal. The images are manipulated to support a lie, that Finn's judgment is compromised, That he's loyal to the wrong people. That his professional choices put a Spencer baby at risk. Finn is stunned but composed. He takes the stand. He looks directly at the judge. And in a voice filled with calm and quiet fury, he tells the truth. He outlines the facts of the surgery, the condition of the baby, the protocols followed. He makes it clear that he made two parallel medical decisions. To save the mother while directing the NICU to save the child. He does not apologize for it. He does not bend. He reminds the court that a mother's life is not disposable, even if her past is complicated. Especially then. But the damage has been done. The courtroom is tense, divided. The judge deliberates in chambers. And when the gavel drops, the decision stuns everyone. The baby is not going home with Bill. Not with Luna. Not with Poppy. Not with RJ. Not with anyone in the room. The court appoints a temporary independent guardian. A 72-hour emergency custody assignment. Neutral. Qualified. Detached. Then the doors open. Steffi gasps. The person walking in, holding the placement file, is Lee Finnegan. The same Lee who had clashed with Luna. The same Lee who had lied, manipulated, and nearly destroyed her own son's marriage. The same Lee who once believed Luna's survival should have remained a secret. And now she's been given control over Luna's newborn child. The courtroom erupts in silent disbelief. Poppy freezes. RJ grips the bench in shock. Bill smirks, he knew. Finn can't speak. Steffi's world tilts. Lee stands tall, emotionless, professional. She says nothing, simply nods and confirms acceptance of the appointment. The baby will be placed in her custody immediately. Supervision will begin today. No visitors without court approval. And just like that, Luna's child is gone from her bedside. The legal war is no longer about custody. It's about power, truth, reputation. It's about who controls the narrative. And for the next 72 hours, the baby's fate is in the hands of the one person no one fully trusts. This is no longer just a family drama. This is war. And it's only just begun. The bold and the beautiful, war of loyalty and legacy. Steffi stands by Finn. Bill strikes back. And Sheila sees a reflection of herself. The fallout from the operating room is still settling like ash over Los Angeles. But the true war has only just begun. John Finnegan made the impossible choice that any true doctor would make. He saved lives. 2 lives. 1 mother, 1 child. No politics, no last names, no family alliances, just medical necessity. But in the world of the bold and the beautiful, morality and optics rarely play on the same team. At first, Steffi Forrester Finnegan was devastated. She heard the whispers, saw the images, and absorbed the headline, Finn saved Luna. Luna, the woman accused of manipulating Will Spencer. The woman who sent scandal rippling through every elite family in town. The woman who nearly tore the Spencers and Forresters apart. Steffi struggled to make sense of her husband's decision. Fought against the instinct to recoil from the chaos that seemed to follow Luna's name like a curse. But as the dust settled and the truth cut through the propaganda, something deeper rose inside her. Something louder than betrayal. A mother's clarity. She looked at her own children. Remembered the moments when Finn had fought for their lives. And realized that the man she married, the doctor, the healer, the protector, was never going to let someone die on his table. No matter their past. He didn't save Luna the criminal. He saved Luna the mother. And he saved her child, too. That's when Steffi made her choice. In a press conference that nobody expected, she stood in front of the cameras, next to her husband, and faced the firestorm. She didn't flinch. My husband is a doctor, she said, voice even, eyes unwavering. He saves lives. He does not pass judgment. He does not play God. He does not rescue only those who pass a moral purity test. He's not here to save reputations. He's here to save hearts, lungs, pulses. If that makes him controversial, then the controversy is on all of you. Not him. It was bold, raw. It was Steffi. The room froze. For a moment, it seemed like maybe, just maybe, the tide could turn. Maybe Finn's integrity would finally shine through the smear. Maybe this would be the redemption arc everyone needed. But Bill Spencer was watching. And Bill doesn't forgive defiance. The very next day, a storm broke loose. Strategically placed reporters began appearing at Forrester press events. Questions disguised as compliments. Innocent queries with loaded intent. Does the hope for the future line endorse saving criminals? How does Forrester reconcile promoting family values when your spokesperson defends the woman accused of seducing Will Spencer? The questions weren't about fashion. They were about Finn, about Luna, about Steffi, and the media was eating it up. Sales dipped. Social media lit up. Outrage flooded in, not just from the press, but from Forrester's loyal clientele. Mothers, donors, Partners who had long upheld the brand as a symbol of family strength. Not family scandal. Inside the boardroom, Ridge Forrester faced the hardest conversation he's had with his daughter in years. He didn't want to say it, but he had to. I need you to step back. Just for now. Just until this storm calms down. You've become the face of something this company can't control anymore. It's not about you, it's about survival. The words hit Steffi like a slap. Her own father asking her to step away from the house her name helped build. From the company that carried her legacy. But Ridge wasn't wrong. The crisis had escalated beyond business, it was now personal warfare. Reluctantly, bitterly, Steffi stepped aside. Her position as spokesperson for Forrester was frozen. Her appearances cancelled. Her name removed from the upcoming campaigns. And just like that, the woman who once dominated Press Week was now a ghost in her own house. But Steffi wasn't out. She was cornered. And Steffi Forrester doesn't stay cornered. In the shadows of her displacement, she began making moves. Quiet meetings. Behind-the-scenes strategy. Because if Bill wanted to use the media as a weapon, Steffi was going to use the truth as her counterstrike. But someone else was watching. Smiling. Chuckling at the irony. In a quiet corner of Los Angeles, Sheila Carter observed the chaos with a smirk. She saw it all for what it really was. Bill Spencer, once again drunk on control. Once again manipulating narrative. Once again rewriting reality to serve his own dominance. And to Sheila, it all looked painfully familiar. The way he was weaponizing children, morality, and legacy. The way he was isolating those who stood against him. It was the same path she once walked. The obsession with maintaining power. With bending everyone to her will. The same spiral that led her to gunshots, betrayals, and self-destruction. But Sheila saw the difference too. She destroyed from the outside. Bill? He was dismantling his own family from within. Driving wedges between father and son, between Steffi and Ridge, between truth and perception. Sheila had been called the villain for years. But Bill? He was hiding his claws in business suits and legal filings. And he was far more dangerous than most realized. Sheila didn't need to interfere. Not yet. She was content to sit back and let Bill do the dirty work. Because as far as she was concerned, he was becoming her. The only difference? He still thought he was the hero. And Steffi? Steffi was beginning to understand what it meant to stand alone against a juggernaut. To fight not just for love but for principle. For truth. She was no longer just defending her husband, she was defending the soul of her family. Her children. Her name. The battlefield was no longer the hospital. It wasn't even the courtroom. It was public perception. And Steffi knew the cost of silence. She had watched her mother be dragged. She had seen what gossip could do to her brother, her cousins, her own image. This time, she wasn't going to be the one chased off stage. So she stayed close to Finn. Held his hand when cameras lurked outside their home. Supported him during hospital reviews. Let the world see that her love didn't bend in storms. Bill continued his campaign. But cracks began to show. The more aggressive he became, the more questions emerged. What was his stake? Why was he so invested in erasing Luna from the narrative? Was this really about protecting a grandchild or controlling the future of the Spencer empire? The questions grew louder. And in time, so would the resistance. Because Steffi wasn't stepping down. She was stepping back, just long enough to strategize. And when she returned, it wouldn't be to beg. It would be to lead. And somewhere, Sheila Carter would be watching. Knowing full well that the real threat to Bill wasn't Luna. Wasn't Finn. It was Steffi Forrester. The woman who had been burned before. And this time, was ready to scorch back. Because in the bold and the beautiful, lines aren't just drawn, they're crossed. And this war has only just begun.
Oh.